From WTDG Toledo, Bridges, with your host, Donnie Miller, connecting our community with information about issues and opportunities.
Hey, good Sunday morning and welcome to Bridges. We are so glad to have you here. We are talking about the importance of voting today, specifically, but not entirely, about the importance of young folks voting this season. We have with us a local political analyst, Elgin Rogers, who comes by that title so well. You have taught classes in American government, critical thinking, at several universities around this area and actually in other states as well.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, so, well, first of all, you got to stop calling me ma'am.
Okay.
All right, can't do that. Call me Donnie.
Okay, Donnie.
All right. So let's take a look at some statistics about what we see as the intended interest of folks between the ages of 18 and 29 in voting. This is all from a poll that you can find. I'll give you the information for finding this poll before the end of the show. 58% between the ages of 18 and 29, folks between the ages of 18 and 29 intend to vote. The interesting thing about that is that that number is far below the folks in that age range who intended to vote in both 2004 and 2008. It looks a little different when we're talking about those racial minorities who definitely intend to vote. Hispanics, 64% of all Hispanics polled indicated that they intended to vote. That's 14% below the national average and 8 points below the 2008 national average. Looks a little different for African Americans, but it's still lower than 2008. 76% intend to vote this election, which is about 2 points less than the national average of 78%. Now, again, these are intentions. We don't know if these intentions might change before the vote. This is a Gallup poll. This is Gallup poll information, www.gallup.com, if you're interested in seeing the entire survey. The surprising and bit disconcerting piece of all of this is that we see minorities, Hispanics particularly, and young folks, again, between the ages of 18 and 29, sort of backing away from this election process. Why do you think that is?
Part of the reason, Donnie, and the research shows this, is that they don't feel connected. They feel that the candidates aren't representing their necessary interest. Students and young people, they don't see how voting really impacts their lives. So in teaching and trying to get voter awareness out for people to register to vote, it's very important that we show them how this really affects their lives.
What do you think's missing in this conversation then? What would be the right verbiage to use that would connect them to this conversation, this political conversation?
Okay. In my understanding, a lot of students and people don't understand that voting affects how you live.
Voting affects everything.
It affects everything.
Absolutely everything.
So we have to get to the bottom line, which is jobs, child care, things that are important to students, education, how students receive Pell Grants and loans. Students don't understand that these things, voting affects all these things.
Yeah. Do you think that the bar was set a little high in 2008? Do you think that people thought they were going to get a lot more, a lot faster, and so now they're disappointed and pulling back because that didn't happen?
I think you're on target. I think what happened was it was a family affair in 2008 with the election of President Barack Obama. A lot of people who never voted before came out with this hope and this enthusiasm, this energy. It was a rejuvenation of our electoral process. However, people don't understand that the political system is based on incrementalism. And what that means is that it's a slow process. You start out, we use a football analogy, if you start out at the 1 yard line, you have 10 yards to go to get a first down. But the 4 years that President Obama has or an elected official has, they may not get to the first down. But the thing is that they're moving the ball forward. Mm-hmm. And I think people have to understand it's a slow process, mm-hmm. but change is steadily occurring.
Yeah, I love that analogy, but you don't get to use any more sports analogies this morning, okay? But that was a good one.
Thank you.
So how then do we go about the process? First of all, we are of the opinion that the vote from folks in that age range, that 18 to 29 age range, is really important to this process. We would think that would we're on the same page with that. So then how do we get them back engaged? I mean, is it just talking that does that? Is it too late to show them that this is an important place for them to be?
For this current election, I don't think it's too late, but I think you have to know their language. Are we speaking their language? There are questions that we have. Are we speaking their language?
What language is that?
Well, for many, again, it goes back to, are these young people being employed? Do they have jobs? Do they have opportunities? Are they being educated? Educated to build their lives and provide for themselves and their families? We're not speaking their language.
Yeah, it seems as though the excitement has moved away from this election.
I gather that as well. Part of the excitement before was, as you said it, change is occurring now, and I'm a part of that. Now, this is an incremental process, and it's a longer process, and sometimes we can't see the end result.
And that it takes a little while to get to the end of this process. Do you think we're asking the right questions in this election? You know, the primary question seems to be, are you better off now than you were 4 years ago? Is that the right question to ask for the population in general, young folks and those folks who are over the age of 29?
I actually think it's an excellent question to ask.
Do you?
Are you better off now than you were 4 years ago?
Even though the change is incremental,
Yes.
as you talked about?
Yes, and the reason being, and I know Ronald Reagan coined the phrase, right, are you better off now than you are 4 years ago? Because you have to look at everything, right? We talked about advancing forward or just moving forward in your own personal life, right? We can look at the economic indicators that show that job creation is up versus being down. We look at the economy when the economy tanked. More people are back to work. It may not be at the same pay rate or the same standard as far as financially, but things are moving forward. So that is actually an excellent question.
But you know, the issues this year are so very complicated. The economy is not an easy elephant to move. Foreclosures, housing foreclosures, actually is an entity that needs to be managed in and of itself, all on its own. The players in that are varied and many. Unemployment is critical, and no matter what we might think, the government simply creates the environment for jobs to grow. The only jobs that the government can create are governmental jobs, and actually there were a number of layoffs in the government around nationally this year. So given the difficulty of the issues, are we being patient enough? I mean, do we really expect to see change in this 3 years? Or do we just expect to see the foundation of change?
I think that's perfect, Donnie. The foundation of change is very important, but we're talking about young people, right? In this conversation, we talk about foreclosures and home ownership, right? Those people in that category of 18 to 29, most of them aren't, that's not the average age of a homeowner. And they're not looking for a home. They're actually looking for jobs again, right? Child care, how to advance themselves through education. So I think, again, like you said, this is the foundation, but we have to also speak their language again and lay these things out because these are very complicated issues.
All right, so then let's talk about those folks who are older than 29. They've been around a long time, voting a long time, hopefully. They seem to be particularly unhappy with the process as well. It's interesting to see how close the candidates have come. At one point, the candidates Romney and Obama were actually tied or within a point of each other. That would say, when you're talking about a seated president, an incumbent, that would say that there's a fair amount of unhappiness with the way the current process is going. That was then. I know that Obama's poll ratings now are on the upswing again, over 50%. But just this sort of back and forth is a strong indicator that, you know, everything's not good in Camelot these days. So do you think that adults are being patient or impatient?
I think adults are not being necessarily impatient, but again, they have the same ideas of young people that they want to see change occur now. We see people's portfolios decrease, and people want their portfolios to rise again at a faster pace as all people. But with the older not older, but the senior population, those people in the age group that you mentioned, they have to be patient. But
No, I'm talking about the age group over 29, so
Well,
the senior population.
I know,
All right, that's
okay.
okay. I won't give you a hard time
All
about
right.
that. But you have to speak their language as well.
You have to speak their language.
What's gonna make them happy this year?
Someone that has their values, someone that has their vision, someone that cares about them, and someone that's out there fighting for them every day.
Yeah, that makes sense when you say it. But I tend to think that most voters are what I've been called what I've heard being
Okay.
called low information voters. That they don't really take the time to understand the complexity of the issues that they want to be fixed. And so that just heightens the opportunity for discontent.
Yeah, voting and being educated and knowledgeable on the issues, it's a challenge. It's a challenge for many. It's a challenge for those people who have college education because there are so many complex parts to it. But the beauty of it all is that we have a system and we have the World Wide Web. We have all these different resources where you can Google some things. You can do some research on your own. So you have to take the next step and trying to understand the issues and understand who you're actually electing.
Yeah, you do. But we tend to be a society of right now, right now. And all of those things that you just mentioned enhance that feeling of right now. We can get information immediately. We can get answers immediately. So we want change immediately as well. What do you think, just your personal opinion, what do you think the outcome of this election is going to be?
When you say the outcome, Donnie, what exactly do you mean?
Who do you think is going to win?
I think the person that's going to win will have.
Okay, I hear a political answer.
That's not a
coming.
political
Yes,
answer.
it is. That's all right.
No, this is sincere, right? I think the person that's going to win is going to believe that that the people are going to believe that he is on their side. He's the person or the individual that will win, right? Is the individual that the people know and believe has their value and their vision, and he also has their best interest at heart.
Okay, and I would agree with that, and that was a political answer.
Okay.
But
Well,
I'll
thank
let you think about that, and we're going to go away for just a second. We'll be right back.